If you wore this country's uniform before 1990, there's money sitting in the VA system with your name on it. Up to $2,200 a month that most veterans from your era have never claimed. Not because you don't qualify. Not because the paperwork is impossible, but because nobody has ever sat you down and explained in plain English exactly what this is and how to go get it. That's what I'm doing today. By the time this is over, you'll know exactly where that $2,200 figure comes from, why serving before 1990 puts you in a special category, and the exact steps to file. Stick with me to the end, because the third piece is where the real money hides. The one almost every veteran from your generation has left on the table without even knowing it. My name is Hank Mercer, and before we go any further, if this is the kind of information you want delivered to you before the deadlines arrive rather than after, hit subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. What I cover on this channel tracks VA disability updates, Social Security rules, and retirement benefit changes as they happen, because the rules do change and the people who are subscribed find out in time to act. Now let's get into it. Let me be straight about who I am. I'm not a lawyer, not a VA claims examiner, and I'm not selling you anything on this channel. I'm someone who digs through VA regulations and the fine print so you don't have to. And I want to be upfront because a lot of channels throw out a number like $2,200 a month and let you assume it's one secret check the VA has been hiding. It isn't. There's no magic form. That number represents the total of everything you're already entitled to, added up correctly. Something your file has probably never had done properly. So let me walk you through where every piece of it comes from, and you can decide which ones apply to you. Let's start with why serving before 1990 is the specific line that matters. Veterans who served before that year fall into a unique category inside the VA system. That window covers the entire Vietnam era, the peacetime years right after it, and the early build-up to the Gulf War. What separates your group from someone who enlisted in, say, 2005 is exposure history. If you served during that stretch, you were far more likely to have been around service conditions the VA now recognizes as presumptive. Presumptive is one of the most important words in this video, so let's make sure you understand it. A presumptive condition means the VA automatically assumes your illness is connected to your service. You don't have to prove it or track down a doctor from 1971. If you served in a qualifying location during a qualifying window and you have one of the recognized conditions, the VA is required by law to grant the service connection. That word is the difference between a claim that drags on for 2 years and gets denied, and one that gets approved because the law already did the hard part. Keep that in mind, it runs underneath everything I'm about to cover. So what does the $2,200 actually represent? It's the gap. It's the difference between the outdated, incomplete rating a lot of pre-1990 veterans are still sitting on today, and what those same veterans should be receiving once every eligible condition and every special category gets properly counted. For some of you, that gap is a few $100s a month. For plenty of you, it's well over $1,000. And for veterans who have been underrated for decades, $2,200 a month is absolutely realistic. Let's go through the pieces that build that number, starting with the biggest one. The first piece, and the one where the largest number of pre-1990 veterans are underclaimed, is Agent Orange and herbicide exposure. If you served in Vietnam between 1962 and 1975, you're presumed by law to have been exposed to Agent Orange. You don't have to prove you touched it. And here's the part most veterans never hear. The VA currently recognizes more than 20 conditions as presumptively connected to that exposure. Type 2 diabetes, ischemic heart disease, Parkinson's disease, several cancers including prostate and bladder cancer, and peripheral neuropathy. That numbness and burning in the hands and feet. If you have any of those and you set foot in Vietnam, the VA is supposed to connect it to your service automatically. Here's the detail I really need you to hear, because this is where thousands of dollars a year get left behind. That list of presumptive conditions has been expanded repeatedly over the last decade. The biggest expansion came with the PACT Act in 2022, which means a veteran who was denied an Agent Orange claim 10 or 15 years ago, before their condition was added to the list, is very often eligible to file again today and get approved on the exact same condition that was denied before. If you filed years ago and were told no, that no may be expired. The law changed underneath it. If you served in a qualifying location and you have diabetes, heart disease, one of those cancers, or any recognized condition, and you either never filed or were denied before 2021, that needs to be looked at again right now, not next year. The second piece is one almost nobody claims because most veterans assume Agent Orange only ever meant Vietnam. It didn't. If you served on or near the Korean demilitarized zone between 1968 and 1971, you fall under the same presumptive rules, and if you handled, tested, or stored herbicides at certain U.S. military bases during that broader era, locations that show up in the records include bases in Thailand, Fort Drum, and Eglin Air Force Base. You may qualify too. This group gets underclaimed worse than any other because a veteran who never set foot in Vietnam assumes none of this could apply to him, and he never even asks. If your duty station is on that recognized list and you have a condition from the presumptive list, your path is exactly the same as a Vietnam veteran's. If you're not sure whether your base qualifies, a veteran service officer will check your location against that list for free. I want to head off the biggest thing that stops veterans here, which is, I don't have proof I was exposed. Listen carefully. That's the entire point of a presumptive condition. You don't need proof of exposure or a buddy statement about the day a plane sprayed a tree line. The law presumes it for you based on where and when you served. Your DD 214, your orders, the record of where the military sent you, that's your proof. If the dates in place line up with the presumptive rules, the exposure is assumed, and the only thing left to establish is that you actually have the condition which your medical records already show. Veterans talk themselves out of tens of thousands of dollars because they think they can't prove something they were never required to prove. Now stay with me, because this third piece is where the real money is. And it's the one thing about VA math almost no veteran from your era understands. It's the combined ratings recalculation. When you have more than one service-connected condition, the VA doesn't add the percentages together the way you'd expect. It uses a combined ratings table built on the idea that a person can never be more than 100% disabled. So a veteran with a 30% rating and another 30% rating doesn't land at 60. He lands at 51, which rounds to 50. It's unusual math, and it works against you if you don't understand it. But it works for you once you use it correctly. Why does this matter so much for your generation specifically? Because a huge number of pre-1990 veterans filed their original claim decades ago for one condition, maybe two, got a rating, and never went back. Life happened, but those other conditions kept developing, and they were never added to the file. Picture a veteran rated at 30% for a back injury back in 1985, and that's still all that's on his record today. Now watch what happens once he finally claims everything he's actually entitled to. He adds Agent Orange diabetes at 20%. He adds hearing loss at 10%. You'd think 30 plus 20 plus 10 plus 10 equals 70. Under the VA's combined table, those actually stack to about 55%. The difference between a 30% rating and a 55% rating for a single veteran with no dependents is roughly $851 a month. That's more than $10,000 a year he was owed, already eligible for, that never showed up because nobody added it to the file. And that number keeps climbing as you keep stacking conditions. Move that combined rating from 55 towards 70, toward 80, add dependents, and now you understand exactly where a figure like $2,200 a month comes from. It's never one hidden payment. It's the compounding effect of finally claiming every service-connected condition you're entitled to and having it recalculated correctly under today's table. Most of you watching aren't missing one big benefit. You're missing 4 small ones that add up to a big one. Before I go further, I want to pause here for a second, because this next part matters just as much as anything else in this video. So here's what I want you to do. The benefits, the discounts, the assistance programs most seniors qualify for but never end up using, I pulled them all together in one place, broken down by state and by program so you're not stuck searching through confusing government pages for hours. It's simple, it's fast, and any senior can find exactly what applies to their situation. Doesn't matter what state you live in, there's help out there you're probably missing out on. It's called the Senior Benefit Playbook, and it's sitting in the first pinned comment right under this video. Just tap it once and you will have everything you need. Now stay right here, because the last one is the biggest gap most veterans never claim. And it's the reason I made this whole video. Let me put real numbers on this so it stops being abstract. Take that same veteran and push him a little further, because this is what actually happens once a file gets opened back up. He gets to a combined 70%. He's married. Now his monthly check isn't in the 800s. It's roughly $1,700 a month with a spouse. Get him to a combined 90%, which is very common once every condition is finally on the record, and he's over $2,000 a month. Get him to 100%, and a married veteran is over $3,700 a month, plus access to a stack of other benefits that ride along with that 100% rating. Commissary access, certain property tax breaks depending on your state, and healthcare priority. So when I say the gap between where a lot of you are sitting and where you should be is $2,200 a month, understand that for some veterans it's actually more than that. The underrated 30% veteran from 1985 and the fully rated veteran are often the exact same man with the exact same service and the exact same conditions. The only difference is one of them filed the paperwork and one of them didn't. I want to speak directly to two of you right now because I know you're out there. The first is thinking, Hank, I already tried this years ago and they denied me, so what's the point? Hear me. That old denial may be worthless today. The law moved. Conditions that weren't on the presumptive list when you were denied are on it now. A denial from 2015 was decided under 2015 rules, and you're allowed to file again under today's rules. Don't let a no from a decade ago talk you out of a yes that's available right now. The second is, thinking I'm 74, is it even worth the trouble? Yes, absolutely. This is money you earned, it's tax-free, and if something happens to you, a higher rating and a service-connected cause of death can open survivor benefits for your spouse. This is one of the most important things you can do for the person you'd leave behind. There's a fourth piece worth mentioning, because pre-1990 veterans get hit by it the hardest: hearing damage. Hearing protection standards back when you served were nowhere near what they are today. If you were in artillery, aviation, armor, infantry, or anything involving sustained loud equipment with little real ear protection, there's a strong chance you qualify for a hearing-related rating and have never been formally evaluated for it, even if you've mentioned the ringing to your regular doctor for years. If that's you, ask for a VA audiological exam specifically for compensation purposes. It's one more brick in the wall we're building. The fifth piece, briefly, is special monthly compensation. This one applies to a smaller group: veterans with more severe service-connected conditions, loss of use of a limb, significant loss of function, or those who need regular help with daily activities because of their service-connected disabilities. If that describes you, there's compensation that stacks on top of your standard rating. But here's the catch that costs people money. The VA does not automatically evaluate you for it. Nobody there is going to call and offer it. It has to be specifically requested, and a lot of veterans who have quietly gotten worse over 20 or 30 years have never once had their file reviewed for it. So let me give you exactly what to do with all of this, step by step, because a benefit you don't act on is just a number on a screen. Step 1. Go to va.gov and pull your complete disability rating history. Look at every condition listed as service-connected and check the date each one was added. If you haven't added a new condition in more than 5 years, that's your first red flag that your file is incomplete. Step 2. If you served in Vietnam, on the Korean DMZ between 1968 and 1971, in Thailand, or aboard a ship in Vietnamese waters, and you've never been evaluated for Agent Orange presumptive conditions, file a claim asking specifically for that review. Include any diagnosis you already have: diabetes, heart disease, Parkinson's, any cancer. Step 3. If you have any hearing concern and have never been formally rated for it, ask for a VA audiological exam. Step 4. And this is the big one. If you have multiple conditions that were rated separately over the years, request a combined ratings recalculation. Don't assume the percentage on your file today reflects everything you're owed. Make them run the math again. Step 5. Contact a Veterans Service Organization, the DAV, the VFW, or the American Legion. They will help you find the gaps in your file, and they do it for free. You never pay out of pocket for accredited help, and anyone asking you to is the wrong person. Before I let you go, here's the whole picture for anyone who served before 1990. The presumptive list has grown, and a lot of you who were told no years ago can win now. The combined ratings table means small conditions stack into a big number, and your file has probably never been added up right. Hearing damage and special monthly compensation are sitting there unclaimed, and none of it moves until you file. The VA doesn't call you when the law changes. Your file doesn't update itself. You served before 1990. This country had decades to get it right, and for too many of you it hasn't. So take step 1 this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.